guys, welcome to the Barrister Banter, a podcast where we have real, candid conversations and we just interact and talk. As you can see today, I'm graced to have this beautiful lady with me. Maybe she can introduce herself, tell us who she is, what she does and everything.
Good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are in the world. My name is Faith Odhiambo. I serve as the Vice President at the Law Society of Kenya. I'm also a teacher of law at the University of Nairobi and a practitioner under the name and style of Mboka and Uber Advocates. My 13th year in practice.
Oh wow, 13 is a lot.
For others, they may see it's little.
But for me, who is yet to join the bar, I'm like, 13 is a lot. I think that by 13 years, of course, you've won great cases, you've lost some.
Of course.
Oh, yeah.
Part of the grind.
Yeah. So it's funny you said you're a teacher of law at the University of Nairobi. You know, the education system and the legal education system has not been kind to me, I think. But maybe I'm the only one. But how do you make your students feel like they can become lawyers, or how do you make them feel? How are your classes? Are they interactive? How do you conduct your classes?
Having studied in my LLB in Kenya and done masters later on outside the country, what's the kind of infusion I've always wanted in my classes to have it a bit more interactive, that students don't feel like the lecturer is up there and you're down here, and that you feel intimidated, you cannot reach out to your lecturer, you cannot talk to them, you cannot be friends. So what I do is I'm more interactive, even tutorial style. Sometimes when we're dealing with questions, that we set different questions for different groups and let's have that discussion and ask each other hard questions. When a different group presents something, I expect the rest to also, be able to chip in and say, why do they think the answer is right? Why don't you think it's right? Or why do you think it's wrong? So that we have that element of, engagement, that we stop looking at each other that it's a right or wrong question. But you see, law is an ambit where it's sometimes, yes, at the foot of the judge, but it's also how you persuade with the facts that you have at hand. And so I love the kind of classes where I'm able to talk to you, reach out to you, that we're able to see, the different thinking, people come up with the different ideas. The challenge that I see, ideally, unfortunately, over this last 2 years is COVID and teaching a lot of my students over the screen, so you don't know who is in class. I don't feel them. I cannot read your emotions. I cannot read your face to see, are you understanding what I'm trying to explain to you? Are you getting the concept? And how do I change either tact? How do I change my explanation method? I think that's the painful part of COVID. Fine, we're able to reach you anywhere in the world. You can study at the comfort of your home or outside the country or in your bed. Well, there have been cases of those studying from their bed or in the bathroom.
Convenience.
But in essence of what I like as a teacher, something that I learned from my father, that he was very passionate. It's not just about going to class and walking in and walking out, but is that element, have I been able to pass a message? My father believed that opportunities of life start with the basic education, and that's the way to alleviate people from poverty. And so learning and watching him, the way he took his work seriously, he's the only, I think, lecturer used to write "see me" because he wants to talk to you and tell you he's going to call your parents, And I was like, this is university, Dad. Why are you calling people's parents? But for him, who came from a large polygamous family, the way he elevated himself is through scholarships in education. And that's the kind of person he fostered in us, that you have to be deliberate in the things that you do. You have to work hard for the opportunities you want, and you may not have a startup app or someone to hold your hand and get to the biggest law firms. I worked in the small boutique law firms in town, but the miles that I have undertaken is just that commitment, that passion, that push and consistency.
It's funny you talk about how education relates to our day-to-day life. And there's this saying that goes, what you read and what you practice are totally different. You hear people say, if you talk at law school, once you're done with law school, now wacha kenye ulisoma huko, now come to practice. And I think that's very ill-advised, because if you are told that, then when you're reading, you'll just read to pass the exams. Then after passing the exams, you just go and say, sintenda kusomea kwa practice. So what's the gap? What's the bridge between law school and what's taught in law school and what we actually practice? Do you think they're the same, or do you think it's actually true?
Okay, to an extent, you need what you've read,
Yeah.
basically, because that will help you just, preparing yourself in court, pleadings, knowledge generally.
Yeah.
But in practice, the challenge is there that there are things you don't learn in the class.
Yeah.
There are things in how do you address court, how do you address your colleagues, how do you address the judicial officers, how do you interact, how do you get run a law firm. A challenge that we have in terms of how do we package our law firms as a business, that you're running a going concern, that's the expectation that you will run this entity to make profit. So those are things that we don't look into keenly, that are not taught in school. We do the accounting for lawyers, but that's basic, and I'm sure most people do it to pass that exam and forget about it. But you forget when you start a business, you have to know how to balance your books, you have to know how to manage your overheads and ensure you charge properly, that you'll be able to sustain yourself and pay yourself. And also the harder job of how do I get clients. So these are soft skills that you will never learn in any classroom. You can only learn them by practicing, watching others, and that's what I've tried to do in terms of having a mentorship program. We started the Our Achilles series for purpose of how do we share impactful experience with young lawyers in terms of how have others made it, how have others moved to these different spheres, how do you brand yourself. Young lawyers have that ability to use social media so effectively. How can you harness that technology to brand yourself and build your business, even at a virtual platform? And so those are things that I think, yes, they are not taught in classrooms, but with the Law Society coming together and just embracing impactful, structured mentorship, then we can be able to help you move from that next level of you being a street book lawyer to a streetwise lawyer.
Oh, that's amazing. You mentioned in Our Achilles series. What's it about?
So
how do you do that?
In Our Achilles series was a webinar series that I started under the Office of the Vice President to just look into how do we support young lawyers in the new areas of law by meeting practitioners who have various experience. We had a session in terms of branding and how do you package yourself as an advocate. The in-house counsel, particularly some from EABL, Equity and BAT, how do you package yourself to if you're moving from practice to in-house? And what opportunities are there? We had one on the judicial architecture, the role of a lawyer. Just listening from a former commissioner of the Judicial Service Commission of what is that expectation? How can you, as an advocate, fight for your space and also fight the menace of corruption? What should be the role of the law in that space? Because for corruption to also thrive, we need that intervention of advocates. So how can, as advocates, let us take that individual mantle one by one, we also fight in that divide. So what I would want to see is the Our Achilles series bigger, and how can we have it more structured, even to devolve it in the branches, that we see how we support more young advocates are coming into this market. How can they package themselves in terms of you're starting a law firm? What do you need to have known? In terms of, do I need the management skills I need to have? When I'm charging fees, yes, it's good to know how to charge well, but why is it important to know how to charge well? You'll be paying an office, you'll be paying overheads of rent, water, a secretary, a clerk to move up and down, submit, deliver documents for you. Why is it so important to think of all that, even every single fee note? That you have to charge even consultation? Why should we have to charge thinking about the general overheads as you look at every single fee note? Because that's going to be the big, the game changer in how you build your business. That from the onset, this is my kiosk. My kiosk can only make money if I do 1, 2, 3. And then the next step is how do we open opportunities for you to network, to get those clients. You may not be able to be playing golf or to going for this high society and events,
to these clubs,
But how can also the Law Society try and bridge that gap, that we open networking opportunities for you to come and sell yourself? You see, the beauty of every individual is God is fair. I believe He sets in each and every person something unique and particular. There's a reason why someone will pick you out on social media, someone will pick you out in a crowd, because you sell different service.
True.
And how you deliver that service.
Yeah.
And so that's what, as long as I believe young lawyers get that opportunity to put themselves out there, then the world is up for them for the taking.
It's actually a forward way to look at how young people, immediately after young people get admitted to the bar, it's like you're just thrown into a new whole world and you don't know where to navigate, where to start. And I think that's a very good initiative that you ran from the office of the vice president. I understand you're now running for the president. So what do you think will be different? Why would you want to give you a vote as a president and to a vice president before?
I would say look at the track record that I've had over the years. I'm someone who sets out and I deliver. When I was serving in FIDA, we managed even to change the trajectory of FIDA, as when people used to say FIDA just breaks families, into a mediation center.
Yeah.
That we are now training so many advocates in terms of mediation. We're giving them practical skills in terms of them coming to train and get mentored at FIDA Kenya, and also they move towards the FIDA Kenya house. When I joined the Law Society as a Nairobi representative, I was the PIL convener and we were able to, irrespective of COVID, irrespective of the challenges, I was part and parcel of when advocates needed the essential services number. I was the convener that ensured we had that done. We did quite a bit of training for the branches in terms of impactful PIL. And the number of cases we're able to handle, irrespective of even the wrangles that were going on at the Law Society of Kenya. So when I set out to do something, I deliver. As the vice president, I've set out my track record on the things that I was able to do when I set out in office.
Actually, so that whole list of you have the achievements as a vice president, they are evident. You can actually see them.
Yes. So we needed to first put our house in order, and now my vision is how do we propel, and that's the PSP agenda. My focus is on LSK to stand firm on the rule of law. We cannot allow the gains we have fought these hard years to lose them. Today we were talking about since 1948, what has the Law Society done? From the time people like the former Attorney General, Amos Wako, fought from handing over from the whites to blacks taking over. Then we have the James Orengo, the Gibson Couriers, the all these presidents all down the line who have fought, and also members of the Law Society to build LSK to where it is today. We stand in the legal profession as the voice that stands in the gaps for members of the public. We cannot lose that. We need this stability that we have built over the 2 years, that we can able to focus on how do we grow as a professional organization, focusing on members to offer professional services, that members are able to ensure that we hold account the secretariat that we have set in place, that they're able to serve us and to serve us well. And in terms of progress, we're looking at, it's high time we have our Kili Tower that we finally developed as a law society. It's high time that we have CPD as a center of excellence, that we can actually train and accredit, that we actually support members in growing in the new areas of practice, and a welfare cover that covers all members, that we ensure that each and every member, we cover their dignity. We stop focusing on so much on fundraising and focus on how can we take care of our members of the Law Society. My agenda is PSP, and I'm asking members, read that agenda. I have you in mind, I have you at heart. I have the vision, and that's why I'm the right leader that can move the Law Society to the next level.
Speaking of accountability, we want to put everyone accountable. We also want to put you accountable. I mean, as young lawyers, we are faced with challenges of how do we say law is a noble profession. But isn't it noble to us? You know, most of us young lawyers, we see some very high-end lawyer advocates, and we see, it's indeed a noble profession, but sometimes you can't feel it. So do you think we're the problem? On a light note, how can we address that?
The thing is that indeed, the Law Society, even as I started out in practice, when you're working with your brown envelope, looking for places to drop your CV from office to office, there's no nobility, and also when the kind of salaries that you're being offered, even some of the young advocates today, the kind of salaries we're being offered are not fair. So those are conversations that I want to start, making the hard conversations, that we need to put policies to protect the young lawyers from pupillage to become an advocate. We need to set some minimum standards even on how we need to pay, or just even treatment terms. When we have seniors abusing young advocates, I've seen even candidates, calling names. That's how will you feel noble in a profession? Young as you may be, you learn from your elders. So if there's no even respect, just generally for the young advocate, how do they have that purview or hope that in this profession there's something for me? What I say is I will bring you to the table. My commitment and promise is that I will work for the young lawyers and I'll work with them. That the initiatives that they hope to bring, I will support. I will offer networking and bring together networking opportunities for young lawyers. I will ensure that we build further the mentorship program, apart from the one with the CJ to have it devolved, but also the new Wakili mentorship program. That we actually have young lawyers coming on board and feeling like the law society is part and parcel. My idea is once we have that building, I hope that we can set up a whole floor, that we can allow meta spaces, young lawyers to come and sit. Let LSK be your godfather, at least even for a year, to just feel LSK cares. We need to realize that the future, our young lawyers, they're taking up about 50%. And when we think about that, how are we going to bridge that gap? We must start taking care of you now. It's not tomorrow, it's not next week. And we have to start giving you that respect that you need. It's only by holding your hand that there's a brighter tomorrow, and that we can ensure even the ones that will come thereafter, you will also hold their hands. So my commitment is that I will work with you, I will work for you, that you can have faith in faith.
I think I love that, because it's the future holding the past and the present. We're just holding each other and mentoring each other from bottom up. From bottom up and from up bottom. So I think that's a nice initiative, and to bring it has been a campaign season, and sometimes we often forget about ourselves. How are you taking care of yourself during this, I assume, hectic?
This is a hectic period. The one thing that I loved the most is going to the gym. I'm normally a gym rat, but I'm not being able to go to the gym. So what I'm trying to do is just try and get time to go for swimming, and just some few exercises in the house. But mostly my happy moments is spending time with family.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
You have a family, how many?
I have a young son and my husband, of course. And those playing games, after a long day, just coming and there's someone waiting for you at the door, and them, they don't care what you've been up to or what you've been going through. They just want to tell you their stories and climb on you and
you feel
sing
like
their
you're
songs.
just a person.
So you feel like it's going to be okay.
So what keeps you grounded? Sometimes maybe fame, money, or all those things. What keeps you grounded at the end of the day?
I think what keeps me grounded is just being me and remembering where the footsteps or where I've come from. What I've done consistently over the years is I teach a Sunday school. And the children always, I think they are my greatest joy. They are simple, they are honest, they are open. They're not like grown-ups. Grown-ups have a hidden agenda. Child will tell you you're boring to your face.
You'll go find out what to do about it later.
They will tell you, teacher, today I had fun, or teacher, this is great. And just the pure raw emotions that they have. And they also uplift you in the way they discuss things, the way they innocently ask questions, and they keep me grounded also to God, because that level of working with children, it brings you to their level. When you're having people who are shouting and jumping on you, and it keeps you, on two solid feet. I remember that, from start to finish. These things come and go. But family, service, they help me remember that there are other people who are suffering or have greater challenges than I do. I also like doing community service, so it keeps me remembering, the community needs you. What is the expectation towards these children are looking up to you. So they keep me faith. Faith.
It's funny you bring about Christianity, and I think many people do say, well, is their hell, lawyers na tailors watakuwa number one. So how do you balance the whole being a lawyer, corruption, seeing all these things, and being a Christian?
I'd say no one. I think God came for sinners, so He came for each and every one of us. I don't say I'm perfect. I get angry. I sometimes get mad and things like that. But even in the corruption and things, I remember once our priests were saying that you remove your shoes and to walk, that there was this walk they were doing that you will not engage in corruption. And I told my priest that, that's hypocritical. I won't remove my shoes.
Yeah.
Why? Because when you look at yourself and you ask yourself, in truth, will you be able to stand against everything? And I said I'd want God to be the one. I make my commitment to God, not to do symbolic things to show others.
Yeah.
And I make my personal commitment to God that I tell God, this will come my way. Corruption is the simple thing as police stopping you. Will you pay that fine to escape because you're running to court or you're doing something?
Yeah.
And so if you've ever even paid that policeman to get off trouble, that's as good as corruption.
Yeah, it
so
is.
I was telling him, can you walk, remove your shoes and honestly say you will be above all sin? And so for me, I told him my position is that I will hold myself accountable and tell God that help me.
You're trying.
I'm trying, hapa leo nimeshindikana, hapa nimeshikwa traffic jam na nikiacha na client wangu atanimaliza. And so I'm not saying I'm perfect, but I try. I think the years I've been in practice, one thing at least I've tried is that I'm not, engaged in corruption in terms of going to bribe a judge or magistrate. But doesn't mean those are not situations that a lot of advocates are finding themselves and are struggling with.
Yeah.
Because you're either asking yourself, do I do this or I lose the case or the client
so many things are at stake.
So many things, and those are part of the things I want to us to fight as members of the Law Society.
Yeah.
That you have the faith to fight your case in court and either win by the strength of your arguments or your law, other than other extra hands that are coming through to help that case. I'd want, I ideally would want to be able to ensure that for even as young advocates, it doesn't matter the number of years the other advocate on the other side has. If you're able to you see, as long as you're able to articulate yourself well, you've done your research, the law is on your side, you will win your case. And it will not be a matter of somebody had to pay their way to get an edge over you. That is the Law Society I want to see fighting, and because that's the judiciary that we want to see.
And sometimes inconsistent judgments can be frustrating because you wonder, we are banking on the same laws, reading the same precedents, but why are we ending up with different decisions?
Exactly. And so these are part and parcel of the things that I hope the task force that we hope to set will go around the country, collect that we can start holding some of these judicial officers accountable.
Yes.
The legal practice and the legal space, we are going through a lot of affront. And it's high time we stood up for ourselves. We are not weak, we are not incapable. The Law Society is not dying, it's only growing. Our large numbers is not a disadvantage. Our large numbers is our advantage to even fight stronger.
That's true.
And so I say, as one, the world will be at our feet.
I like your strategy. And in a race, there are either two eventualities. You either win, you don't. Have you prepared yourself for both? And how have you prepared yourself? If so,
for a loss, how I've prepared myself is I've walked this journey with my family. I always say the person that keeps me grounded, he reminds me, after all of this, it will be me who will be there. That is my husband, my mother, my family. They'll be the ones who will, hold me grounded. And I have my partners in the law firm who are fully behind me. And, they have taken this initiative to say, let us support you. And if all goes, we don't win, we come back, we work hard in our practice. I go back to teaching. My students who I love teaching, my family. So that in a scenario either or, I want them to always have my back. In eventuality that we win, that's why I've set a manifesto that I believe I can achieve. I'm not going to make the 10,000 promises, just hoping to win, and then when you get in, That because that is when the work begins.
Yeah.
That's when the promise starts. That's when the hope you must achieve. Because raising the hopes of so many and then giving unrealistic promises that you're not going to be able to deliver.
Yeah.
That's the height of the questions I asked myself as I listened to advocates around the country, talking to them, listening to their views, as I set up my agenda. That is what advised me in terms of the PSP agenda. Because that I knew at the end of the day, if I win, I need to be able to deliver this agenda.
So ni win na kuanza kazi
kabisa.
Oh, amazing. I hope you get all the votes. And while talking about votes, you know, it's one thing to have people rally for you, go on social media, you see Faith Odhiambo for president and all those things. So how do we balance that expectation to win and actually getting people to come and vote?
So on the voting day, what I tell each and every other member is every vote counts. Come out, have faith in faith. For us to deliver for you, we need you to also deliver on 29th of this month, 2024. I ask you to come out in large numbers. Abstaining to vote or forgetting to vote is as good as allowing an incompetent leader that will not have you at heart into office. Let's stand against any interference from government. Let's stand against any opportunities that we may have faith in. Come and vote on that day, because faith has you at heart. Faith will stand with you. Faith will walk with you. Have faith on faith. Have faith in faith. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time. It was a lovely conversation. And I think, you know, natoka hapa na mimi naenda kujipea ka pep talk hapo nje. Vitu zinaenda kufanya. Anyway, thank you for your time. We look at you and we marvel at how great you are, what you're doing, and you're still very welcoming to us young lawyers. We have experienced it. I mean, I didn't know you from a long time ago, yet you had the grace and the, let me just call it the grace to actually come and tell me, oh, we can actually shoot a podcast. So thank you for, it starts from there, like from those things where you see, oh, she said she'll do this and she did it. So I mean, all the best. I wish I could vote, but now I'm just a young lawyer who's waiting to be admitted to the bar this year. And I can't wait to see the great things that are about to happen and unfold in the next coming days. Congrats.
Okay. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.